But as we're talking about it, maybe what happened was Stafford and the Rams possibly are negotiating, and he can't get close to market value because they're going, well, we'll give you this. He knows if he hit the market, I could get 50.
More. Yeah.
And that's where he goes, nah, I want out. I want a chance to get a trade, knowing that if he could do that, he could just at least establish a new market.
Yeah, get his wife on board to tweet a couple of things or post an Instagram video. The agents.
I don't think that's that difficult with his wife. She doesn't mind giving opinions or tweeting very often.
Yeah, happy to share her thoughts. But, there's a whole PR team. I mean, again, I really do think these things are orchestrated, right? Where you instead of just saying, again, I keep using this analogy, like the dad going, when the vacation's already paid for, I'll turn this car right around. We're not turning around, dude. I already paid for Great Wolf Lodge. You know what I mean? Like we're going to the water park. Like I've already paid for it. The tickets are done. We're doing that. I just want you to shut up. Like saying, I'll leave. I'll really leave. And now you do your unfollow on Instagram.
But when you do that, Danny, you know this. You've got to be willing to actually do it.
Yeah.
And he probably was, like, because it's kind of cool that Tom Brady's courting you. And Vegas is not a bad place to go play indoors and bad city to be a part of on the up and coming NFL organization venues, right? But he's back in LA, and they're going to be the favorites going into the season, I think, pretty obviously, to win the West because they got some really good players on defense. That kid they drafted, Jared Verse, their defensive end from Florida State, star. Inside, his college teammate, Brandon Fisk, they drafted in the first round as well, I believe. The big D tackle. Really, really good. So that D-line, even post Aaron Donald, is in a pretty good place. The offense has weapons and is good even as they move on from Cooper Kupp now, that they'll reload. I just think the rest of the division is not on their level. Like, let's say the Rams go 11-6. I don't think they're a 13 or 14 win team.
No, because remember how slow they usually start. Two straight years they've done that.
Seattle could push them. I could see that, but I'm not convinced on their quarterback situation. What's going on with Geno, who is not playing at the level he did a couple years ago when he kind of recaptured his career. The Cardinals are fun, and they play really hard. They just graded their coach an A. They really like Jonathan Gannon. That NFLPA polling was pretty telling. They gave a bunch of Fs for a bunch of stuff. They don't like the owners. They don't like the facilities. They got a terrible locker room. But we really like our coach. And you can kind of tell. They play hard, man. They're always in games. But that's a 500-ish team at this point.
At best, yeah.
And San Francisco coming off 6-11 with all the injuries, with Debo walking, they're in a bit of a state of transition. They've got to pay Brock Purdy. My guess is Debo Samuel's not the only of the star veterans who ends up not on the team next year. I think they could be a wild card team and a playoff team, but I would still say the Rams are the most likely team to win the West with Stafford back.
I think I smell what you're cooking there. I mean, San Francisco to me is the variable. They're the wild card because there's some history now where they'll be an NFC championship contender. Then they've got that whatever that snake bit year is where everybody's hurt. Seems like nobody can get right. Nobody performs well. You're on your quarterback number 6. I mean, think of them in the conference championship against Philadelphia a couple years ago where, you and I are taking snaps back there. It just wasn't working. And they've had those, whatever the opposite of a charmed life is type years, and then they've rebounded. I could see them rebounding and being the juggernaut, or I could also see, the window's kind of closing here as some of these guys that, have healthier years or have had them in the past, don't rebound, don't come back. The Trent Williams, George Kittle, Juszczyk, Debo Samuel, he's not going to be there probably. But you know what I mean? Like it doesn't, the magic doesn't get recreated and then they kind of have to transition to a new era. That's entirely possible too. I have no good feel for how San Francisco is going to be. And obviously this is pre-off season, pre-draft and free agency and the like and how they retool. But if you're just saying, if this core gets healthy, they're formidable. Is the core getting healthy? That's the big question mark. One
angle about this Matthew Stafford story that I think is going to get lost in the sauce, and then it seems to me like I'm the only person that cares about, which is fine. But I just can't not be annoyed by this, is Tom Brady running the show with Vegas, which is great. I'm happy for him, and I think it's smart for the Raiders, honestly. I don't know if he'll be good at it or not, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have Tom Brady courting quarterbacks and making phone calls for you, as popular as he is in this game. But he is the A broadcaster for Fox, and he is, while not in on Friday meetings, that's kind of what they've taken away from him to make this all okay in the league's eyes. He is still getting unbelievable access to all of the teams in the league. He's still down on the field talking to all of the stars before every game. He's talking to coaches. He's getting intel on, first 15 scripts and things that they run and don't run and things that players do well and they don't do well. And if nothing else, just the access to the relationship building with stars for all the other teams. in a league where we're so worried about the public visual tampering, this is the de facto GM of the Raiders. That's what he is. We're finding that out now. They can call him whatever they want. They hired a GM, Spytek, from the Bucs. They have a new coach in Pete Carroll. Tom Brady's the one running the quarterback search. He's the one that ran the search for the GM and the search.
To be clear, he's out advocating for the Raiders. When he's not broadcasting games, he's acting on behalf of the Raiders.
Why is this okay? This is such a conflict of interest that has been shunned and not allowed in the past. I mean, this is an unprecedented thing where we're just normalizing and accepting the goalposts moving massively on what should be accepted from broadcasters or from people with this kind of access. I think this is ridiculous. And it does seem like it's just, every now and then Mike Florio or somebody will float it out there like, isn't this weird? And everyone will go, yeah, that's kind of weird. And then a few months will go by. But it was really crystallized for me with the reporting this week. It led to the beef between Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport, where they're face-to-face in a Starbucks, the two NFL insiders. But we've got to now debate whether did they just bump into each other? They both live in this Montana ski community, and they just happen to be on the slopes, and they're both on slope 4 at the same time. And then Tom Brady ran into Matt Stafford, and they fell down, but he was laying on his stomach. But then he's like, "Oh, you're Matt Stafford," so they got up, and
so weird.
It was a very odd situation, right? But that's the dude who was hanging out with Matt Stafford pregame on the field 6 weeks ago, right? Or less. The whole thing is so strange to me, and it really shouldn't be allowed. Go be the best broadcaster or go be the best de facto GM, but you don't get to be both. I just don't like that. I think that access is really unfair.
Well, the toothpaste is out of the tube on conflict of interest in sports. Like it's people. I think the first times it would like toe the line. You get a couple people to write their sharp columns and a couple pudgy zilches like you and I referencing it on the radio. But I think the teams realize there's not near enough outrage to stop anything because people just want to watch their games. So to me, this is like we've kind of crossed that, and now they're going to do a big show about saying, well, he can't. Like if anybody asks, oh look, he can't go to Friday meetings, and there's not enough upset to do anything differently. And by the way, I'm agreeing with you. I'm with you. But like teams owning their own broadcasts, teams owning their own play-by-play, teams owning their own 24/7 coverage.
I get that
to fill the demand.
This is so different, though.
But to me, it's all feeding out of the same trough.
Well,
where the whole point of it is their list of things that are conflicts of interest that you just wouldn't do, and now I think the teams and the leagues have realized it's actually not that big a deal. Or in the minds of their fans.
What they have in common, those two things you're talking about, is that they are conflicts of interest. But I think that's where it ends. Like, you running your own broadcast as a team takes away from some of the truth that you're going to get in that broadcast, right? That goes without saying. You're going to get a little more of a homer approach. This, though, is recruiting. This is the possibility of getting intel on an adversary, positively or negatively. Either finding out how somebody does something and going, we should do that, or the opposite, where you just get information on how they view something, whether that's philosophical, a paradigm. What do they think about the tush push? Oh, they hate the tush push. Well, now we know they're not using that on 4th and a foot. Like, there's just so many things that you can glean in his role. Let me ask you this, and I don't mean for you, Danny, to answer, although you could, but would it be weird if Mitch Rales called games on Fox?
Of course. Of course it would be.
Nobody would think that was a reasonable thing. And it's really no different. Now, Mitch Rales is more rich and has more money invested in the Commanders, I'd imagine.
It doesn't have 7 Super Bowl trophies, but yes, to me, I'm right with you.
It's nonsense.
Of course.
And I don't know what annoys me more, that it's happening or that nobody cares about it. But both of them are irritating to me.